All right, today we're going to talk about cultural responsive differentiation strategies. This topic I find very interesting because I went to a very diverse, culturally diverse high school, and I found that many of my classrooms were not culturally responsive and didn't use culturally responsive differentiation strategies that would have really helped all the students tremendously. So I'm hoping to pass along some strategies and tips for you guys today. So right now we're gonna do a little activity. We're gonna turn and talk. Let's take a moment to celebrate the unique makeup and diversity in each of our classrooms. Reflect and share about the cultures represented in your room, things you've learned, your own cultural identifications, and strategies you use to ensure students from all cultures feel included and represented. All right, just an interesting little quote and picture I found. We all should know that differentiation makes a rich tapestry, and we must understand that all the threads of the tapestry are equal in value, no matter what they are, no matter what their color. So it kind of just is like we're all a piece of the puzzle. We all are part of the final product, and we each have something to bring to the table, and that's how we should look at our students as well. All right, so what is it? What does it mean to be culturally responsive? The definition is culturally responsive differentiation is instruction that honors, empowers, and responds to the needs of students from all backgrounds. It celebrates differences, breaks down biases, and works to ensure that every child has the opportunity to achieve his or her fullest potential. So, how do we apply this? So, differentiation works to ensure that all students are engaged in learning that meets their needs. Similarly, culturally responsible differentiation works to engage students and their unique needs in the learning process, but also warrants of all cultures. So, what's the difference? I think many teachers do differentiate, but we're going to kind of talk about how to make it more culturally responsive and hopefully move a lot of you over from just basic differentiation to that culturally responsive differentiation. So, no differentiation, assessments at the end of the unit, primary whole class instruction, textbook's primary tool, teacher's main problem solver, and holds knowledge, quantitative focus on assignments. Differentiation, this is where most of us are currently falling, is assessments, ongoing diagnostic, variety of strategies used, multiple types of instructional materials, students engage in problem solving, and quantitative focus to assessment. Now, this is where we would like to get to. That's culturally responsible or responsive differentiation. Assessments use background, experience, and voice to validate identities. We also recognize cultural influences and the use of cultural resources, include resources that legitimize the experience of all cultural backgrounds. Students are active in all aspects of learning. Assignments are meaningful to students and families. So this really takes getting to know your students and doing some research on what helps each one of them from a cultural background perspective. So I found this resource from Santa Maria 2009, and it is Classroom Evidence Guidelines for Differentiation Instructions and Indicators for Culturally Responsive Teaching. So a couple of things I found interesting on this resource was as teachers takes responsibility for learning about students' culture and community when students are encouraged to share their families' seasonal celebrations. So getting to know what celebrations and holidays are celebrated by each of your students. Engaging all learners. Another thing I found interesting was teacher inclusion of CLD assistants contribute to non prejudice attitudes with students and connecting learning to their lives, thereby supporting a curricular critical consensus. So we see everyone at the same level. Another interesting quote I found: being a culturally responsible teacher is not simply a matter of applying instructional techniques, nor is it a primary or a matter of tailoring instruction to incorporate some assumed traits or customs of particular cultural groups. As we have discussed, culturally responsive teachers have a high degree of social cultural consciousness, holding hold affirming views of students of diverse backgrounds, see themselves as agents of change, understand and embrace the constructivist view of learning and teaching, and know the students in their classes. It is the combination of all these dispositions, knowledge, and skills that enables them to design instruction that facilitates student learning, which I think a lot of us are aiming for, but we'd like to get to. So, how do we get to that point? I have some homework for you to do to help get that. Evaluate your own culture and your biases. Maintain high expectations for all your students. Ask questions, get to know your kids and families, and read and research. Express interest and create safe, inclusive environments for all your students, which are all things I think many of us do, but it's hopefully we take the next step to reach this goal. First strategy. Take time to sit one-on-one with your students throughout the first few weeks. Ask them questions about their hobbies, their interests, and goals. Use information learned to build a lesson around student experiences and interests. Another strategy is provide student choices, differing materials, perspectives that are culturally relevant. Include materials that represent student cultures to build confidence. Strategy 3, invite community members to partake in learning. Should be representative of community and diverse students. Build confidence and connections for students. Strategy 4, use students' names and examples, text, problems. Use familiar language when introducing new concepts. Validate students' experience through the careful selection of texts and explanations. All right, so now let's turn to talking. Brainstorm ways in which you can make your lessons in classrooms more culturally responsive. All right, and here are my resources.